You ever notice how trouble always announces itself with a siren, never with a knock? I remember the first night it all really started, the kind of night where the bay looks like polished stone. The moon's just a rumor behind the clouds, and the only sound ought to be a gull calling itself home. But instead, you get a wail, sharp and high and ugly, cutting the world open. That siren bounced off the still water of Rain Cove, bounced through the pines, through the screen door of my old boat, the Salty Dog, and straight into my bones. It said, clear as a bell, showtime. I was standing there on the deck polishing a brass cleat that didn't need it. Old habit, I guess, or maybe just nerves, when my wife Lisa called from inside, her face all lit up ghost green from the radar screen. She runs everything, weather cameras, the whole marina schedule. I handle the shiny bits. She's the brains, you know what I mean? I took a breath, set the rag down, tried to make my heartbeat sound casual, like I didn't already know what was coming. Because I did. Before the blue and red lights even started painting stripes across the dock pilings, I knew. Rain Cove opens right up to the bay, and with the tide and the salt and the radio always chattering, you get a sense for trouble. Out on the main dock, I saw her, the shadow, standing like she owned the horizon. Karen Lucas, president of the Rain Cove County HOA. Queen of all things petty and pointless. She's got this white blazer, perfect even at 9 at night, hair helmeted, an unmovable clipboard in one hand and her phone in the other, like she's about to knight herself for valor in the war on fun. Two sheriff's deputies rolled up behind her, looked young, tired, ready for another night of nonsense. Even before they made it halfway down the ramp, I could hear Karen, sharp and shrill, calling out code violations, unauthorized vessel, non-compliant mooring. She actually pointed a finger at my boat, right at me, as if this was a showdown and not just a tired old man polishing brass. The deputies came slow, cautious, like maybe I'd rode in from the Spanish Main. The tall one with the baby mustache cleared his throat. "Evening, sir. Got a call about a vessel docked here without a permit." I nodded, gave him my best, I'm harmless grin. "Evening, deputy." Let me guess, the call came from a woman who fines people for breathing too loud. The young one looked at his laces like he really did worry about being out of code. "Only if you double knot," I said. He almost smiled. The tall one held steady. "They asked for paperwork." I handed over a folder, big bold stamp, "Marina owner." Behind them, Karen's lips curled in triumph, just waiting for my world to fall apart. I pulled out a laminated deed boat. "Guys, laminate everything. You live on the water long enough, you learn." The deputy read it top to bottom, eyes darting, then handed it off. "Mike," he said, "you gotta see this." Mike frowned, eyebrows up, glancing from me to Karen, who by now looked like she'd swallowed a bad oyster. "Ma'am," the deputy called. "Could you come over here for a sec?" She marched up, heels, clicking eyes locked on Victory. "Is he being removed? Is the vessel being impounded?" The deputy held out the deed. "Ma'am, according to this, Mr. Lewis Cressley here, he owns the marina." Karen snatched it, scanned the words, her eyes flicking left and right, reading and rereading as if willpower could change legal print. The deed said it all. Cressley Marine LLC owns 51% of Rain Cove Marina, the dock slips and boat launch. The HOA. They got the parking lot and a little strip of grass. That's it. I watched her face turn colors, white to pink to red, like someone sped up a cartoon. This is impossible. This is a forgery," she snapped. I just laughed. "Ma'am, that's a certified copy. County clerk's office. The original's locked away. The HOA was offered first right of refusal. You passed. I bought it 6 months ago. Quiet retirement, that was the plan." The deputy handed my paper back. "Looks like you're all good, Mr. Cressley. Sorry to bother you." I gave him a warm smile. "No bother at all, deputy. Just doing your job." They walked off, leaving me and Karen alone, the marina, humming soft and steady. She stared, no words, just rage, pure, heavy burning. Not because she was wrong, but because her power, her little kingdom, just slipped away in front of witnesses. "This isn't over. "Cressley," she hissed, "this is my community. You're a guest here." I just smiled. "According to the paperwork, Karen, you're the guest. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got brass to polish. Guests don't set the rules." I turned my back on her, headed for my boat. I could feel her eyes on me, boring holes, but I didn't care. Lisa was waiting with eyes twinkling. "That looked fun," she said. I sipped. "Oh, the fun. It's just getting started." I knew deep down in the pit of my stomach, I knew Karen Lucas wouldn't let it go. This wasn't about a boat. This was about her throne. She was about to start a war. The war started not with a bang, but with a slip of paper. The next morning, bright orange notice on the Salty Dog's window. HOA violation, improper cleat hitch technique. The way I'd tied my line was offensive to the aesthetic sensibilities of the community. $50 fine. I laughed, showed Lisa. "Improper cleat hitch," she said. Slow smile spreading. "Lewis, you've been tying boats since before that woman was born." "Frame it," she said. "Hang it in the bathroom." Lisa wanted to write a letter, but I shook my head. We can't fight her with more paperwork. We have to fight absurdity with absurdity. That night, Lisa and I, well, mostly Lisa, tech genius, wired up a driveway alarm under the dock. Instead of a chime, she set off a compressed air horn. Next time someone came to slap a ticket on our boat, well, let's just say the whole cove would know. 2 a.m, air horn shattered the night. Lights flipped on, a dog barked, and a figure in a white blazer scrambled away from our dock like a spooked raccoon. Next morning, no new ticket. Round 1 to the Cressleys. A few days later, attack number 2. Blaze orange rectangle. This time my shore power cable was 7 inches too long. She must have come down in the night with a tape measure. I pictured her crawling around with her Stanley tape, couldn't help but grin. Lisa said, "What's next?" "Counting anchor chain links." She went to her box of gadgets, came out with a GPS tracker and a jar of craft glitter. Glued the tracker, rolled it in purple glitter, and I snuck under the dock at midnight to plant it near the power pedestal. The next night, Lisa's tracker app pinged. Blue dot moved from our dock to Karen's house. Got her. Best part. A couple days later at the mail kiosk, Karen's perfect white blazer sparkled in the sun. Telltale purple glitter for all to see. A few neighbors caught it. No one said a word, but the looks, the stifled grins, her image literally tarnished. The final act of the petty war giant fluorescent green sticker on my pickup parked right where it belonged. Final notice vehicle will be towed for non-compliance. The reason my tires touching the line. They weren't, of course. It was a threat. She was trying to have my truck seized. "That's it," I told Lisa. "The gloves are off." She raised an eyebrow. "Something loud, something Polish," I said. "Accordion diplomacy." I rigged up outdoor speakers, aimed them across the cove, and set a timer. Next morning, 6 a.m., the neighborhood woke up to the oompa of "Who Stole the Kishka" at full blast. People stumbled out in robes, looked at the tow sticker, looked at Karen's house, put 2 and 2 together. Neighbors saluted me. "Make it 7:01 next time, maestro." But you know, as funny as all that was, I realized she wasn't just being petty anymore. She was escalating. Notes, measurements, tow threats. She was trying to drive me out. Make life so miserable I'd sell my 51%. And for what? It wasn't just ego. I looked at Lisa. This is fun, but it's a distraction. She wants us chasing our tails while she makes her real move. Lisa nodded. "HOA meetings Tuesday. It's time to show everyone the receipts." The petty war was over. It was time to bring out the heavy artillery. The HOA meeting was the same as every HOA meeting across America. Fluorescent lights, folding chairs, the lingering smell of burned coffee, and too many regrets. The clubhouse felt like a holding cell for neighbors who'd lost the will to care. Karen presided from her little stage, flanked by 2 loyal board members. One nodded like a bobblehead, the other always looked half asleep. She gripped the microphone, tapping it like she was about to sing the national anthem, and launched into a speech about petunia blight mulch budgets, gutter cleaning, sucking the life out of a room with her bare hands. I sat in the back with Lisa, watching the audience, tired faces, glazed eyes. I wondered how many had been fined for mailbox colors or grass height, how many just paid up and shut up. Because that's how people like Karen keep their grip, by making everyone else believe the rules are written in stone, not just scribbled by the biggest bully on the block. Finally, after a half hour of talk about nothing, she opened the floor for new business. Her voice made it clear she hoped there was none. I stood up. Heads turned, some curious, some suspicious. I was the new guy, the boat blaster, the one who'd stood up to the queen. Karen's smile thinned like she tasted vinegar. "Mr. Cressley, do you have a complaint about our guidelines?" She said, her tone all poison honey. "No complaint. Just a clarification," I said, walking to the front. Under my arm, I carried 2 foam core boards. Lisa followed with an easel. We set up like it was the science fair. The room woke up. Karen bristled. "This is highly irregular," she snapped. "Presentations must be pre-approved by the board." "This isn't a presentation," I said. "It's a property lesson pop quiz at the end, open notes." Lisa grinned. I pulled the cover off the first board, a huge satellite map of Rain Cove with county parcel lines in thick red. This, I began, is Rain Cove. The area here, the houses, the roads, the clubhouse, the strip of grass, yes, that's all HOA managed. But the marina, the docks, the water, the boat launch, that's not HOA property, that's mine. The room went still. Then there were gasps, whispers. Karen stood up, sputtering. "You can't just come in here with a fake map." "Not fake," I said, cutting her off. Placing the second board on the easel, a giant copy of the deed key lines highlighted yellow. "This is the certified county deed for Rain Cove Marina Parcel 7B. It names Cressley Marine LLC as owner me. I own 51%. The rest belongs to the slip holders co-op." Stan Oldtimer in the front barked out, "Wait a second. So when you told me I couldn't park my skiff at the guest dock, you had no right?" "That's right, Stan. You can park there any time." A woman asked, "What about the launch fees?" "The HOA charges us $20 every time." I smiled. "That's over. The launch is my property. For Rain Cove residents, it's free as of today." A little cheer broke out. Karen's face was locked in a masked rage and disbelief and a hint of panic. "This is a private meeting. You're disrupting. I'm a resident and a business owner sharing the truth." I said, "For years, the HOA's overstepped enforcing rules and collecting money on property it doesn't own. The question is why?" She had no answer. The room wasn't with her anymore. They were looking at her with suspicion, not fear. I'd won the room, but I could see it in her eyes. The next move wouldn't be another ticket. The petty war had gone quiet. But it was the silence before the storm, and as it happened, a real storm was coming. Lisa tracked it on radar, big mean, a snarl of red and yellow. "We need to double up the lines on the salty dog," she said. We spent the day helping neighbors do the same. In a marina, storms bring folks together. The usual squabbles vanish, replaced by that old truth: your neighbor's safety is your own. But even with the wind picking up and the bay churning, I couldn't shake my unease. Karen hadn't so much as glared at us all week. No tickets, no whispers, not like her. Bullies don't give up, they regroup, and somewhere in the background, I could feel something shifting, something bigger than her bruised ego. A postcard in the HOA email last week had flashed up Sterling Development Reimagine Rain Cove Waterfront and vanished. That evening, as the sky turned the color of a bruise, Lisa was glued to her cameras. "That's odd," she said, staring at one feed slip, 12 rainbow shimmers spreading out under the dock. "Oil diesel." My gut knotted up. Even a small fuel spill can destroy a marina finds investigation's months shut down. I threw on my rain gear, flashlight in hand, and headed out. The wind nearly knocked me over. By the time I got to slip 12, the smell hit me diesel thick and sickening. 5 gallons, maybe more, spreading fast. I checked my own lines, my engine, nothing. This was no accident. Someone had dumped it right off the dock. Back in the cabin, dripping wet, I looked at Lisa. "Sabotage," I said, and the word tasted like poison. "Who would do that?" She knew. I knew. She wants to shut us down, I said. She couldn't beat us with rules, so she's going to frame us for an environmental crime. Then the marina value crashes and her developer friends buy it for pennies. Lisa's eyes went hard. So what do we do? If we call the Coast Guard now, they'll shut the place down, assume we're guilty, I said. That's her endgame. But Lisa was already ahead. We set a trap. We used the cameras. I nodded. Call the Coast Guard, but not the hotline. Call direct, keep it low. I rang the local duty officer, Petty Officer Cole, gruff and tired. I explained everything, every violation, every threat, the sudden spill after the public meeting. This isn't a prank, sir, I finished. It's sabotage, and it's a federal crime. Cole paused. Mr. Cressley, most HOA calls are baloney. This one smells like a felony. He listened, then said, We'll have a boat nearby, quiet. Monitor your channel. If you see anything, call in Mayday. We'll be there. The trap was set. We waited the storm, howling the boat pitching. Lisa glued to the camera feeds me, holding the radio. 2 a.m, rain coming down in sheets. Suddenly, Lisa hissed, Camera 3 by the fish station. On screen, a figure in a rain slicker moving low and careful, not a resident checking lines, but someone trying not to be seen. The figure knelt at slip 10. Henderson's boat reached under the dock, hands moving fast. My blood went cold. The rat was back. Lisa zoomed in. I can't see the hands. Wait, he's got a knife. Sawing at the bilge pump discharge hoses. Without those, a storm fills the boat, sinks it. Chaos. Another accident for the record. The Coast Guard had told me witness, not hero. I tried, I really did. But this was my home. I slipped out. Rain stinging, keeping low and quiet, getting close enough to see the face as the hood fell back. Buddy James, local handyman, HOA lackey. Not evil, just dumb. What are you doing, buddy? I said. He flinched, lied, tried to bluff. Knife in his hand, panic in his eyes. He lunged, more scared than angry. I sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, twisted. The knife clattered. Bad line cut, $10 fine plus court costs, I muttered, snapping a photo. We tangled on the wet dock, 2 fools in a storm, until I pinned him. You're not going anywhere, kid. He broke. She said nobody would get hurt. It was just a prank. Just then, Lisa's frantic voice crackled through my radio. Lewis the Miller's boat bow line snapped. It's drifting. I looked. Miller family's runabout was swinging out stern toward the rocks, their lights on. The Millers sometimes slept aboard. I shoved Buddy hard against a piling. You move, you'll be swimming. I can't swim, he yelped. Then stay put. I sprinted down the dock as the boat drifted, jumped for it, missed, hit the water, the cold hitting me like a punch. Heavy rain gear dragged me down, but I fought up, grabbed the swim ladder, hauled myself aboard. Tom Miller and his wife inside, kids crying. Lines were cut. He yelled, no engine battery dead, sabotage again. Lisa's voice came through Coast Guards, 5 minutes out. You're drifting toward the rocks, 30 yards off port. No engine. Use the anchor bow. Cleat, let it run. Don't fight it. I scrambled, hands shaking, dumped the anchor. For a moment, nothing, then a violent jerk, and the boat snapped around, holding 20 yards from disaster. Coast Guard lights broke through the rain. They rescued us, towed the boat. The sheriff took Buddy James off my hands. Lisa and I gave statements wrapped in blankets under the office awning, the storm fading. The sheriff gathered evidence, knife cut, hoses, fuel samples. But the break came when Buddy faced with real charges, federal pollution, destruction, endangerment, folded. He spilled everything. He told the detectives how Karen Lucas hired him for petty harassment at first. Then for the big crimes. She texted him instructions, told him to pour diesel, cut lines, create chaos. It's for the good of the community, she said. Buddy handed over his phone. The detectives found everything, texts from Karen, telling him when, where, what to do, and another name, Mr. Sterling. So there it was, all spelled out in the blue glare of a detective's phone screen. Every message, every command, every crumb of the trail Karen Lucas thought would stay buried in storm and diesel and rumor. and the more they dug, the deeper it went. Scrolling through Buddy's texts, the DA's people found a goldmine meetings with Mr. Sterling talk of zoning wire transfers and pressure for the marina's valuation to drop. Sterling Development, the same outfit whose glossy postcard had flashed across the HOA email. Turns out Mr. Sterling wasn't just a neighborly investor. He was the CEO of one of the biggest, meanest development firms on the coast, infamous for snapping up waterfront and raising it for luxury condos. All he needed was one stubborn old man and his laminated deed out of the way. Karen was on his payroll, of course, bank records proved it. $10,000 a month plus $1 million bonus if she delivered Rain Cove Marina into his hands. Her job wasn't to protect property values, it was to crater them, smother the marina with violations, run off. Residents create an environmental crisis, then let Sterling scoop up the mess cheap. The evidence stacked up: fast text messages, wire transfers, the empty diesel can from Buddy's truck, matching fuel in the water, and a paper trail linking Karen's shell company to Sterling's development empire. By dawn, the storm outside had passed, leaving everything clear and washed, but the real storm had only just begun. The DA wanted to make a point not just to punish, but to let everyone see how they'd been played. So they called an emergency community meeting. This time the venue wasn't some stuffy clubhouse with coffee-stained carpet and flickering lights. No, the showdown would happen in the open on a big flat construction barge anchored in the marina itself, surrounded by the water Karen and Sterling had tried to steal. On the morning of the meeting, you could feel it in the air. Neighbors gathering, some on docks, some leaning over rails of their boats, whispering, waiting. Word had spread this wasn't just about a boat or a couple of tickets. This was about who really owned Rain Cove and whose rules mattered now. Karen showed up late. Of course she did, sweeping in wearing a navy blue suit sharp enough to cut glass, her hair helmet more perfect than ever, and a lawyer in tow who looked like he'd charge $1,000 an hour just to say no comment. She took her place at the front, still holding on to that air of command, like she thought she could bluff her way through one last act. She tried, I'll give her that. Stood tall, voice smooth as butter, telling the crowd it was all lies, that someone was spreading vicious rumors to undermine community safety and security. Her lawyer hovered close, hissing warnings under his breath, but this wasn't her stage anymore. The DA nodded to me and Lisa, and we walked to the 3 easels we'd set up, each covered in white cloth. I didn't need to say much. Sometimes proof is louder than any argument. First, I pulled off the cloth covering a giant high-res copy of the deed, county, seal, parcel numbers, everything. I tapped the spot that said Cressley Marine LLC 51% owner. The crowd murmured louder this time, reminding everyone where Karen's power ended and mine began. Lisa unveiled the second board, a blown-up consulting contract between Sterling Development and Karen's Shell Corporation, with payments and $1 million bonus spelled out in plain English. The room broke out in angry shouts, kickbacks. She sold us out, the whole dam finally bursting. Karen's mask started to slip, but she wasn't done yet. "It's a fake," she shrieked, finger-trembling lawyer trying to pull her back. That's when I revealed the third board, blown-up screenshots of her text to Buddy James. "Make it look like an accident. Cut the lines on slip 4. The old man will be finished. Her name, her number, her words for everyone to see." A hush fell over the crowd, as complete as the moment before a thunderclap. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The sheriff stepped forward. "Karen Lucas, you are under arrest for conspiracy, destruction of property, and filing a false police report. You have the right to remain silent." For once she did. She went white as chalk as the cuffs clicked shut. All her power gone in a single morning. All the whispered threats, the tickets, the fake rules gone. The whole cove watched as the queen was dethroned and marched off by the very law she thought she could bend. After that, everything changed. Sterling tried to fight, of course, lawyers, PR, the whole bit. But the DA had his number. Sterling rolled over on a few crooked county officials and would probably spend the next few years in a minimum security prison, griping about the golf course. Rain Cove started breathing again. The old rule boards covered in Karen's threats were torn down, used for a bonfire. I made a new sign, just 3 rules painted in bright blue and white. Be safe. Be kind. No Karens allowed. Lisa made me add the last one. Isn't that discrimination? Stan asked, grinning as he clapped my shoulder. Only against bullies, I said. Neighbors I'd barely spoken to before came by offering coffee, help, laughter. The Miller's boat was repaired. Their kids handed me a drawing of a man leaping onto a boat in a storm, big red superhero cape and all. I told them it was the best likeness I'd ever had. The Henderson's boat, the one Buddy tried to sink, floated easy in its slip. People helped new neighbors tie up swapped fishing tips, waved at each other. The only thing echoing over the water now was laughter, not sirens. That night, Lisa and I sat on the Salty Dog's deck watching the sunset water smooth as silk. My old brass cleat gleamed, catching the last pink light. Lisa rested her head on my shoulder. It was a stupid fight, she said. The stupidest, I agreed. But we won. We did, she said. Turns out a laminated deed, a handful of glitter bombs, and a lot of stubbornness can beat a bully. And some Polish oompa for morale, I added. She laughed. Don't forget that. I thought about it, how we could have just packed up, sold out, let the next guy deal with Karen. But we stood our ground. Sometimes standing up isn't just about you, it's about everyone else who's watching. About proving a community can be stronger than any committee, that neighbors matter more than bylaws. As darkness fell, all you could hear was the steady slap of water on hulls and the quiet living peace of a place that's yours. Finally, really ours. Finally home. You know, folks always ask me, was it worth it? All the sleepless nights, the meetings, the run-ins with the law, the petty games with tickets and tape measures, that bitter tang of diesel in the air after the storm. And every single time I look out across the water at dusk, see the dock lights winking on, hear the neighbor kids chasing each other down the planks, smell the rain-soaked cedar, and the last of the barbecues drifting over from Tom Miller's boat, and I say, yeah, every crazy minute of it was worth it. See, something strange happens to a place when you get rid of the bully. It's not instant, no magic switch flips and suddenly everyone's a hero. But little by little, folks come out of their shells. People start making eye contact at the mailbox. They linger a little longer on the dock just to talk, to laugh, to help a stranger tie off a boat or swap a spare part. I remember the first real Saturday, after everything changed. Karen behind bars, Sterling on the news, the county officials sweating through their depositions. Lisa and I took our coffee down to the marina office, and it was the quietest morning I'd ever known in Rain Cove. Not quiet with fear, but quiet with peace. I noticed things I hadn't noticed in months, the way sunlight painted ripples on the hulls, how Stan's wind chimes actually sounded kind of nice once nobody was threatening to fine him for period inaccuracy. We started getting visits from other marinas, too. People who'd heard about the Rain Cove Rebellion. They'd show up with homemade muffins or a cooler of fresh fish, wanting to know how we did it. I'd laugh, tell them the truth. Start with a laminated deed, marry someone smarter than you, and keep your sense of humor. The rest you learn as you go. Lisa, of course, kept us from getting too big-headed. It was never just about you, Louis, she'd remind me, grinning over her mug. It was about everyone who needed to know they could say no to a bully and still keep their place in the world. She was right. Always was. There was a new energy at HOA meetings, too. Not that I went to all of them anymore, but the ones I did, people actually spoke up. Ideas got traded, not just threats. We started a community garden on the old strip of grass, planted wildflowers where Karen's approved shrubbery list used to hang. Stan taught the Miller kids how to fish. Lisa hosted movie nights on a projector screen made from an old sail. Even Buddy James, after a few months' probation and a whole lot of community service, came by to help repaint the clubhouse, nervous at first, but folks gave him a second chance. Turned out when you take the puppet strings away, the pawns in these stories can surprise you. The funniest thing, the county sent someone down to reevaluate property values after all the press and the bust. Turns out a marina with no lawsuits, no fines, and a reputation for honesty is worth a whole lot more than a war zone run by an HOA queen and her developer cronies. Sterling's ugly glass condo towers never got their permits. Local papers ran with the story, and suddenly the county had to listen to us. For the first time in decades, the people who lived on the water actually got a vote about what happened on it. I guess if I'm honest, the best part wasn't beating Karen or outsmarting some sleazy developer. The best part was seeing Rain Cove remember itself, watching a bunch of regular folks rediscover what it means to have each other's backs. Sometimes at sunset, Lisa and I would walk the docks and just listen, the water lapping the creak of ropes, laughter echoing across the slips. I'd feel her hand slip into mine, warm and sure. "You realize we're the old-timers now, right?" she'd whisper. "Guess so," I'd say, not minding the gray in my beard for once. One night, not too long after the whole mess settled, there was a soft knock on the cabin door. I opened it to find Stan and the Miller kids each holding a lantern. "Night watch," Stan said, trying to sound gruff but smiling like a kid. We took a slow walk down the dock together, lanterns swinging shining light in places that had once been shadowy secret or just plain tense. The kids pointed out a heron on the pilings. Stan muttered about getting his old fishing rod out. I realized then this was the point. Not winning, not even surviving. Just being able to walk your own dock at night, lantern in hand, knowing the place is yours. Even after all the chaos, the paperwork, the sirens, and the rain, I'd still catch myself reaching for that old brass cleat polishing out of habit. Lisa would tease me, "You're going to shine that thing away, Lewis." Maybe. Or maybe it's just what you do when the fight's over and life is good again. You keep something bright, something solid, just to remind yourself that peace, like a shiny cleat, is worth a little extra work. Folks still tell stories about the Great Glitter Incident, or the time the whole cove woke up to a full-volume polka concert at dawn. Those are the legends now, funny, harmless, even a little proud. Kids will look up from the playground point at the marina and say, "That's where Mr. Lewis saved the Miller's boat in the big storm." I never argue, let 'em tell it their way. Sometimes I wonder what happened to Karen in her fancy suit, or to Sterling and his dreams of glass towers. Maybe they're sitting somewhere right now, convinced they lost because the rules weren't enforced hard enough, or the money just didn't flow their way this time. Maybe they're planning their next takeover in some other unlucky cove. Or maybe they're learning that even the strongest power can't beat a stubborn community with a little truth on its side. If there's a lesson in all this, it's simple. Never let anyone convince you that the rules are bigger than your neighbors, or that your home belongs to anyone but the people who love it most. Stand up, laugh when you can call for backup when you need it. And if all else fails, remember sometimes a well-timed air horn and a jar of purple glitter can save a whole community. So if you're ever down Rain Cove way, stop by the Salty Dog. I'll be on deck, rag in hand, waiting for sunset. We'll swap stories. And if you ask me about the old days, about what it took to keep this place safe, I'll tell you straight. All it took was a little stubbornness, a whole lot of heart, and the courage to say no more. The rest, well, that's just life on the water, my friend. You ever have one of those nights where peace feels almost suspicious, where the only thing louder than the silence is the sense that somewhere someone is winding up for a fight you didn't ask for? Yeah, that was me. Standing there polishing a brass cleat on the Salty Dog, my old boat rocking gentle under my boots, trying to convince myself I was just another retiree working late, not the bullseye in somebody else's power game. But that siren god, that sound, it cuts through everything. If you've never heard a police siren echo across still water, you don't know what a real warning sounds like. The noise ricocheted through the pine trees, shattered the illusion of a calm night. It wasn't even the Coast Guard this time, no. This was county. That high, shrill wail meant for emergencies, disasters, real trouble, announcing, in this case, the arrival of something far pettier, something HOA. Lisa, my wife, had her feet curled up in her chair in the cabin, green light from her weather radar painting her face like some tech shaman. She's the quiet force behind everything. If I'm the guy patching holes and shining metal, she's the captain of this little ship, tracking radio chatter, checking cameras, managing the marina schedule. She had her glasses perched on her nose, looking over the rim, more amused than concerned. "Want me to bet on who's in the parking lot?" she teased. Didn't need to, I already knew. Rain Cove is the sort of place that feels suspended between wild and domesticated old pines. Wide bay, a marina that creaks and groans with the tides, and just enough stubborn old-timers to make things interesting. But like a lot of places, it's got a Shadow Rain Cove County HOA. And at the top, Karen Lucas. She's got that posture, ramrod straight hair, helmeted in industrial strength blonde white blazer, pressed sharp enough to slice bread. Clipboard in one hand, her Excalibur cell phone in the other, her scepter. And if you're wondering, yes, she names her clipboards. As those red and blue lights splashed across the docks, painting the pilings, there she stood barking into her phone, probably threatening to fine the sheriff if his shoes weren't up to code. That's Karen, always ready to go to war over someone else's fun. Two deputies' kids, really barely old enough to rent a car, walked down the ramp, boots thumping on the planks, their expressions a mix of boredom and fatigue. They glanced at each other like they were trying to remember the training manual section for HOA Drama Waterfront Edition. "Evening, sir," the tall one said. "We got a call about a vessel docked here without a permit." I put my hands in my pockets, took a breath. "Did the call come from a woman who looks ready to write you up for untied shoelaces?" The younger one checked his laces, half smiling. "Are we out of code?" "Only if you double knot," I replied. Karen's eyes could have burned through the hull. She jabbed a manicured finger at my boat, then me rattling off violations, subsection 12C, unauthorized vessel, non-compliant mooring. Like I hadn't lived on water longer than she'd lived anywhere. "Sir, just need to see your paperwork," the deputy said, polite, tired. I handed over my folder, big red marina owner stamp on the front. I watched Karen's mouth twist into a little grin like she thought Christmas came early. I reached into my wallet, pulled out my laminated deed. "Boat guys laminate everything," I joked. "We don't trust paper." The tall deputy shined his light, read the deed twice, handed it to his partner. Mike, you gotta see this." Mike frowned, glanced at the paper at me, then at Karen, who by now looked like she'd bitten a lemon. He called her over. She stomped up heels, clicking, not even looking at me. "Is he being removed? Is the vessel being impounded?" The deputy just held out the deed. "Ma'am, looks like Mr. Cresley here owns this marina." Karen snatched the paper, eyes darting, reading, rereading, as if she could will the words to change. And there it was, Cresley Marine LLC, 51% owner of Rain Cove, Marina, the dock slips, launched the heart of it all. The HOA, just the parking lot and a little strip of grass. Her face cycled from pale to pink to mottled red. "This is impossible. This is a forgery," I shrugged. "That's a certified copy. The real one's in a safe deposit box. Your board was offered first right of refusal. You all passed. I bought it 6 months ago. It's my retirement investment. The deputies gave me back my deed. Sorry to bother you, Mr. Cresley. No bother, deputy. You're just doing your job." They walked off. Karen stared, her look pure rage. It wasn't about being wrong. It was about being powerless in front of witnesses. "This isn't over, Cresley," she hissed. "You're a guest here. Paperwork says otherwise, Karen. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got brass to polish." I turned, walked back to the salty dog heart still thumping. Lisa slid open the cabin door, handed me a mug of tea. That looked fun. I grinned. Oh, the fun. It's just getting started. I knew right then she wouldn't let it go. I wasn't just some old guy in a boat. I was a threat to her throne. And a bully with a bruised ego is a dangerous animal. The next morning, war began. Not with a fire, not with a storm, just a piece of paper, bright orange, stuck to my cabin window. HOA violation. Improper cleat hitch technique. Lisa read it, shaking her head. "Louis, you've been tying boats since before that woman was born." I laughed. "This level of spite is a work of art." "Frame it, hang it in the bathroom," she suggested. But Lisa, she's got a sense for strategy. What's our move? Write a letter, no. Can't fight her on her turf. We need to fight absurdity with absurdity. So that night, while most folks watched TV, Lisa dug through her tech gadgets, found an old driveway alarm, rewired it, swapped the chime for a compressed air horn. We hid it under the dock, aimed right at the spot where any ticket writer would stand. 2 in the morning, the air horn blasted like a freight train. Lights popped on across the cove, a dog barked, and I caught a glimpse of Karen White Blazer and all sprinting away like a raccoon caught in the trash. Next morning, no new ticket. Round 1 to us. But it wasn't over. A few days later, another orange rectangle. Shore power cable exceeding maximum allowable length, 7 inches too long. Lisa howled with laughter. She's measuring cords now. What's next? Counting anchor chain links. Lisa grinned, her eyes sparking with mischief. Let's make it memorable. She glued a tiny GPS tracker, rolled it in craft glitter, and I swam under the dock, attached it by the pedestal. That night, Lisa's app showed the tracker moved to Karen's house. The real joy. 2 days later at the mail kiosk, Karen's blazer sparkled purple in the sunlight. A few neighbors saw, no one said a word. But I saw the looks, the smothered grins. Sometimes the universe rewards patience. But Karen escalated. Came back from groceries to find a neon green sticker on my truck, final notice. Vehicle will be towed in 24 hours for non-compliance. My crime tires touching the line. They weren't. This was a threat. I looked at Lisa, voice low. That's it. The gloves are off. Something loud, she asked. Something Polish, I said. Accordion diplomacy. I rigged up our old speakers, pointed them straight at Karen's house, and set the timer. 6 a.m. Next day, the cove woke up to Who Stole the Kishka at full blast. Folks stumbled out in bathrobes, bleary, confused, then saw the sticker on my truck. The speakers pointed at Karen's. Stan, the old-timer, saluted the sunrise. Finally, some culture. But I knew deep down this couldn't last. She was escalating. From fake tickets to tape measures to towing. She wanted me gone, but why was it just ego or something more? Lisa caught my eye. She wants us chasing distractions while she makes her real move. HOA meeting is Tuesday, she said. Time to go public. So we prepared printed giant maps, highlighted deed copies, called in every little bit of proof, because sometimes you have to show the whole town the emperor's got no clothes.